At some point in this very week, the Sacramento City Council is expected to vote on a financing package that will finally determine what happens to the old ballpark foundation out at Arco Arena. It's actually part of a funding plan for the entire Arco Arena site, which was demolished nearly 2 years ago and has seen little movement on new buildings. So what is the fate of Sacramento's baseball stadium that never was? Well, if you're one of those poor, naive souls believing that somehow that foundation out in Natomas would be used to build a ballpark that the Athletics would begin play at in 2029, well, here's a preview to your reaction of this video.
Stop! Stop what you want.
Full disclosure, I just assumed that they removed the baseball foundation when they were tearing down the rest of Arco Arena. That would have made sense, no? Alas, they did not, and that baseball foundation is still out there rotting in Natomas. It may not be rotting for much longer, though. The Sacramento City Council could approve funding to help get the site ready for future development. This cash would go towards a few different things, but most notably, at least as it relates to this video, the removal of the ballpark foundation. As far as a timeline is concerned, all reports out there state that work on removing the foundation at Arco Arena would not begin until 2025 at the earliest. So I suppose there is some glimmer of hope for you handful of folks out there just dying to see a Arco Arena baseball stadium built. But let's be real, building an MLB stadium there seems like a bad idea. And using that foundation wouldn't actually save all of that much money or time as it relates to construction. There's just not a lot of benefit to building on what is already there. I know some people out there will say, oh, it could be cheaper, it could be this, it could be that, but it's not how construction works. There may be some benefit, but it would just be offset by a bunch of other stuff. The big takeaway, though, from this story, at least for me, is that it took so long for them to even get to thinking about removing the foundation of this disregarded stadium. Seriously, there's been no movement on anything out here in decades, and yet it's just been allowed to fester. Better yet, simply getting this site ready for redevelopment still isn't done yet. Why is this taking so long? The Innovation Park project that's supposed to go on the Arco Arena site was approved by the City Council more than 2 years ago now. It was also first pitched further back than that. Not only are there no shovels on the ground, cranes in the sky, anything like that that would signal progress, but basic hurdles, basic obstacles still need to be cleared even to get to that point. In other words, we are years away from being years away to even realizing Innovation Park. Yet over in West Sacramento, Vivek Ranadive, Kings owner, Rivercats owner, and the landlord who doesn't charge billionaires rent to use their facilities, is angling for an expansion MLB franchise or to keep the Athletics in town. He doesn't have any tangible stadium plans in place to realize either of those dreams, let alone any sort of financing for a potential new Major League Baseball park. That to me highlights a real concern as it relates to having a Major League Baseball franchise in Sacramento. That being, Ranadive doesn't understand the new stadium process and how it's going to play out. Let's not forget, Ranadive walked into a fairly ready-made arena proposal when purchasing the Sacramento Kings that simply needed some I's dotted and T's crossed. The deal wasn't necessarily over the line, but most of the race had been run and he was just there for the final sprint. Look, did he get that done? Absolutely he did, and that was a very big obstacle to clear, but let's not pretend he was there when the hard yards were being gone over. To that end, what happened with the Golden One Center and getting financing for that and that whole deal, that is not going to happen when it comes to a baseball stadium in Sacramento. This does assume that Ranadive is going to pursue some sort of public financing for a Major League Baseball stadium in Sacramento. He doesn't have to do that. He could pursue a privately financed stadium, and I would champion him. I would sing his praises for doing that because privately financed stadiums are awesome, and they're what all billionaire sports owners should do. But I just don't see it being like that. I don't think he has the funds. I don't think he has the liquidity. I don't think he has the assets to buy a Major League Baseball team for the $1 billion, $2 billion, or whatever the case may be. And then on top of that, build a stadium for another $1 billion. It's possible he has partners. It's possible he can get banks and loans and all of that stuff. I just don't see it. If that is the case, then he is going to seek out some sort of public-private partnership agreement similar to what went down with the Golden One Center. How exactly is that going to happen in a timely fashion? That's what I don't see here. Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred and the owners, they're not letting any baseball team, even the Athletics, who have been so neglected over the years, play in a minor league ballpark for 10, 11 years, whatever the case may be. And that's probably a realistic timeline to get a publicly financed baseball stadium built in Sacramento, as far as getting everything just done with securing the financing, any votes, any work with the city council. However that plays out, you're looking at 5, 6, 7 years to work out the financing of it, and then 3 to 4 to get the damn thing built. That's a decade, and it's a really worrisome number. That's also best case scenario. We're not even factoring in the two parties here. Both the Sacramento City Council and Vivek Ranadive have proven to be flighty over the years. They're also quick to change their mind for no reason in particular. I mean, you have two volatile actors here, and assuming that they're going to come together and it's all going to work swimmingly, good luck with that. Even if you want to take the A's out of the equation here and say Ranadive's focus is solely on expansion, which of course will buy him more time. Utah already has some pretty good stadium plans and they have funding in place. We've seen Portland stadium plans. We don't know about funding there just yet, but it seems far closer than what we have in Sacramento. Hell, I would argue that Oakland is more ready to go as far as a stadium plan is concerned than Sacramento is. This isn't to say it cannot happen, but if we're being honest, knowing Ranadive, knowing the city council, it doesn't feel realistic in the slightest. Unless it's privately financed. Privately financed is possible. A publicly financed baseball stadium? Well, it took the city of Sacramento more than 2 decades to remove a semi-dangerous hole in the ground where our last attempts at building such a ballpark stood. If that is not an apt metaphor for this situation, well, I simply do not know what is. In recap, the Arco Arena Baseball Stadium Foundation is likely gone, and it will be replaced by more questions about just how Sacramento gets a big league ballpark. But if Sacramento does manage to do it, well, y'all know where I want to see that stadium built. Sunrise Mall, not even kidding. For more information on that and where else you could build a baseball stadium in Sacramento, video upper right hand corner of your screen is the place to go. And if you would like to remember that time the Maloof brothers sold Arco Arena naming rights to a scam company, video lower right hand corner of your screen. Until next time, I am Cheyenne Hollis, this is The Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.